you feel under pressure to raise the bar again this year?
I think we always feel there is always a pressure to raise the bar, but Julian and I are probably our own worst critics. So once we finish the series, we always sit down in sort of December time as we start the storyline in the next series and go, right, what can we do better? And we talk about the storytelling, what scripts worked, what didn't, and visually what worked and what didn't. And I think the big departure for us this year is that we have we've brought all the CGI in-house, which is so we control that more creatively, and that's been great and a huge learning curve for both of us. And that just gives us more creative control of the look of the show. And so I think that's a real departure this year. We're episodes 1 and 2 we're going to the northern plains. We've got snow, and so we're ambitious. So each year we push the look of the show. Shooting again on 35mm, which is great. And then I think sort of story-wise and script-wise, the one thing we've done this year is we're telling multi-stranded stories. We always used to just tell the story from Merlin's point of view, and you would follow Merlin's dilemma through it. This year we've started telling, we have multi-stranded episodes where we're cut into different stories. We started to do it a little bit at the end of last season, but we decided to do it this year. We transmit at 8 o'clock now on a Saturday night, 7:30, 8 o'clock. So we can afford to be a little bit more sophisticated now with the storytelling. And it just felt we needed to grow the show up a little bit, just like in Harry Potter, the series, the film's got a little bit darker with the audience. As Merlin gets older and becomes a man, his dilemmas become darker and more interesting. And the multi-stranded stories, helps tell us slightly more sophisticated, slightly darker stories. So that's been great. So in a way, we've sort of really rebooted the format of the show. It still has, it still has great comedy in it, and it's still action adventure, but it just has a little. I think it's got a little bit more of an edge this year, which hopefully the audience will really like and fans will like.
Is that due to any influence of Game of Thrones? Perhaps you mentioned snow, or you mentioned multi-standard stories.
No, it didn't actually, because I hadn't watched Game of Thrones, and then I noticed that it had snow, and I thought everyone was going to say you did snow because Game of Thrones is snow. You can never win as a producer, because whenever you do something, I go, oh, they did that and whatever. But there's no such thing as an original idea, is there?
And we've heard already from Julian that it's going to be maybe darker this season,
yes.
Because you obviously have an older audience, than maybe it started out as. So are we focusing maybe less on the humor or the levity, or is there going to be still an equal balance of that, but maybe with more gravity?
Well, I think that to Julian and I, the tone of the show, that the comedy is really important. That sort of Jeeves and Worcester relationship between Merlin and Arthur is the heart of the series. So they're just like any kind of male friendship where all my male friends, we still act like we're 13 years old. We still have a stupid sense of humour. And I think that's true of Merlin and Arthur, is that even though they've gone on really interesting journeys in the 3 years between the series, their lives are more complex and darker. Merlin is becoming a man, Arthur is a king, and climbing into those shoes really, really well. But I think that to us, humour is always a very important counterpoint. So, it is darker, and their dilemmas are darker as well and more difficult, but it's always counterbalanced with humour. I think the one thing that we haven't done this year is had a comedy episode, like, guys being, possessed by a goblin or anything like that. We do less kind of comedy episodes, but we're very conscious of keeping the humour in the series, because to us that's an important part of the tone.
What about the camaraderie between Arthur and the knights? Because now he's king. Is it still like boys with,
Yeah, very much so. I think that the knights have all stepped up to the plate and are they have their problems within the series, but the first series absolutely centres around Arthur and how far he would go for the Knights of the Round Table, and it's the story of Arthur putting his life on the line to save his knights. So I think there's an incredible bond between Arthur and his knights, and I think that's very much core to the the heart of the series. Is that kind of that friendship and that honour and loyalty, really. It's about loyalty, and I think that's the amazing thing about the Arthurian legend is one of the things that you tap into is the loyalty of those, the loyalty of Arthur to his subjects and to his knights, and the loyalty to Merlin and Merlin's loyalty to Arthur. So I think it's a key part of the emotional heart of the series.
Yeah, because that's the best part of the series, is Merlin and Arthur and all the knights and stuff.
Yeah.
In the missing years, has anyone new learned about Merlin's secret?
I couldn't possibly answer that question.
No, I know.
Figured you'd try. He was like, got it. Cut you out.
Is that a good answer?
A little jet lag. You won't notice we slip it in.
So you would.
That was actually my question too. Let's keep asking you at different times.
I think that the interesting thing about this series, of course, is you're bringing back the character of Mordred, and as we all know, Mordred knows that Merlin has magic. So there is a very, very interesting arc of what Mordred does with that knowledge.
Are some of the allies that we've seen established with Merlin in the past, are we going to see them coming into play in the next series? You know, because he's met a lot of people along his journey to who he is now.
Yeah.
You know, who basically said, we understand and we're with you. You know, there's always, you don't understand, Arthur, how many people are supporting you in this.
Yes.
You know, are we going to be seeing maybe some of those recurring, or those characters come back?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Arthur became friends with Queen Annis last year in an episode. She comes back and helps Arthur, so she's a recurring character this year. And then other people from Merlin and Arthur's past do come back and support him. Yeah. So there is that sense that Arthur is beginning to unite all of the kingdoms.
Exactly. That's where this whole thing is leading to anyway.
And that's very much, again, key. One of the little arcs that Julie and I have this series is that Arthur's striving for peace and to unite all the kingdoms together. And that becomes key to quite a few of the story motives.
Great.
Can you talk a little bit about Merlin and the dragon for the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that this year we've got two dragons. We've got Athusa and the Great Dragon. Merlin's friendship with the Great Dragon, it becomes more of a two-way relationship. There's an interesting twist with the dragon that happens later on in the series, where he has to help the dragon out. But the dragon is a key part of what happens to Merlin in this series, because the dragon tells Merlin of certain things that are going to happen, and Merlin really doesn't want those things to happen. So he highlights things that he really doesn't really want to hear. And there's and it's very intriguing what happens with Athusa, the young dragon. The last time we saw the young dragon at the end of season 4, she was helping out Morgana, and we discovered that Morgana has an ally in this other dragon.
Now I can guarantee you will most likely get this question this morning.
Yeah.
Will there be someone from Merlin this season?
Is there going to be
A girl from Merlin.
a girl from Merlin? There is an interesting little twist in the first episode, the first two-parter, and I think that there are a few interesting things that will happen to Merlin romantically, but he's got a lot on his plate. He's got to keep Arthur safe.